Christian, question for you. A few months ago, Facebook announced that it would cap the number of friends each person had to, I think 3,000 was the number, if I remember correctly. I was curious to know what drove that thinking, particularly in the context that on Twitter you can potentially have an unlimited number of followers.
So user profiles are capped at 5,000. If you have more than 5,000 friends, I'd be pretty impressed. You can have, and then you have the single pages, which is effectively like a form of presentation of a celebrity or a brand or Britney Spears has a Facebook profile. Doubtful she has more than 1,000 true friends. Britney Spears' Facebook page with a couple million, nowadays, million followers. So the reason is we don't believe it's likely that a person really has 5,000 true friends. So we'll keep profiles as people. We'll make pages as professional. But I mean, I don't have a page. I have a Twitter account and people follow me there.
My question is around, I think one of the main things of this conversation, there's been the word advertiser said a lot. And I know display is still the dominant, factor in how specifically Facebook still makes, or how you guys are so successful. But what about, I know advertisers want video, and we're talking about streams and interstitials and pre-rolls, and does Facebook have any plans for that, or to create a player, or homepage takeovers, or is it going to stay display?
I don't have a browser, so I can't show you. So we don't do display actually. We had Microsoft was trying to display, and we picked that off because it didn't work. We had massive amounts of inventory, but people weren't clicking on it. What we have is we have a ad unit that's actually it actually has what we call an engagement ad. The engagement ad gets sold by CPC or CPM, much like display. It's actually very different. You can click on it; it can be a video, and you get the video played on the whole screen. And you can buy what we call a reach block. You can actually have all 100 million users in the U.S. guaranteed to watch that video in that specific day.
And who's player?
It's ours.
Oh, okay.
So we have a high definition video player there before. So studios love this. The studio marketing guys, they're all about this big bang leading up to opening week because they know they're going to make all their money in the first few weeks. So if they can go to Facebook and say, hi, I want 500 million people guaranteed to see it on one specific day. Here is a small amount of money relative to what I paid in TV. And then they get CPMs and playbacks, which is the metric they track. They love it. Flip it around to a specific good for pet lovers. They can target the 20 divorced females in upstate Pennsylvania that have dogs. And that's who they care about. They can target that as well. So that's they'll tell you how many we do. So it's breadth, and you can do all that. It's actually microsegmentation. I'm a shareholder, right? So I get excited about it. I get actually more excited about the microsegmentation than I do about the reach.
My question is almost a continuation of what you just started talking about. It's also in context of 500 million users you talked about almost that. I believe I read somewhere that 70% users actually go back every day to check Facebook, which is 50. So it's an impressive statistic.
50%. Over 50% of users come back every day.
So I think in this context, I know a lot of advertisers have been thinking about it, but are there any big examples of innovative moves that advertisers would have made to leverage the sort of earned media outside of, say, the old Spice plan that I think almost everybody has heard of? Also, almost as a follow-up, are there any structured opportunities that Facebook is providing to advertisers to leverage the opportunity?
Yeah, so I'd argue we have under-leveraged the opportunity to advertise on Facebook, and we're beginning to get a bit better about working with brands. So a good example is Nike. So Nike's is not a World Cup sponsor. They've always been very aggressive in how they actually market football around the World Cup. So they decided that they were going to bet on Facebook as their medium, and they did this global campaign around Own the Future, video ads, Facebook pages, all this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, they wanted to sell football shoes, soccer shoes. And they ran, I think they got X billion number of playbacks on their videos. So in fact, their 30-second spot got X billion number of playbacks. They gained 6 million fans in the first day around the world. And it was all based on one number. Actually, that's some stuff on YouTube as well. Adidas, meantime, actually came late. You saw the ads, it was kind of confusing. One was a Star Wars one that wasn't selling the football stuff, it was actually selling their Adidas classics. They were actually the official World Cup sponsor, and yet Nike had share of voice going into the World Cup. Pepsi publicly stated that they're going to stop spending money in the Super Bowl, $20 million a year, and shift all that to social advertising. I mean, that's not going to be all us, I wish, but it's going to be us, YouTube, other networks. So these are brands that move the advertising world. When these brands start thinking about taking their millions of dollar campaigns and actually putting them on social, a couple of those, and I'll be a happy shareholder.
Hi, I'm David Ryder. I'm a first-year MBA. Thank you very much. This was fascinating. One of the things that keep coming to my mind during this conversation was the divide between the people who are on the graph and who have access to the graph and those who do not. And I know education is a key component of what Facebook is doing. If I'm part of a community, if I'm on this graph and I'm sharing information with people, there seems to be an exponential growth in sort of access to information that I have, that people who aren't on the graph, the divide will grow exponentially in some way. So how do some of these companies, these sort of graph-related companies, deal with this sort of people who are left behind? People who can't actually access the graph in some way. Is Facebook moving towards finding ways to build that community, or is it really going to be this sequestering where some people are within the community and some people are not within the community, therefore can't grow that divide?
I mean, the answer is mobile. The digital divide, I think, is the question you're asking, and is that the impact greater in social connected world? I mean, the internet connectivity rates as feature phone prices just fall. Text-based internet, one of the reasons Twitter is so successful is you can use it perfectly with just a shortcut. And that's one of the reasons they move so quickly. So I think there's always going to be a segment of the population that is completely unconnected, but thankfully mobile connectivity going over landline everywhere will allow a much greater percentage of the population to be internet connected and graph connected. Because I think everyone on the planet, with the exception of the 1 billion, will have a phone.
2 more questions.
David, in a lot of the startups that you highlighted, you were talking a lot about the users and the traffic that companies were generating. At what point do companies shift the focus from generating traffic and users to actual revenue and monetization?
I think it's a specific company. Some of our companies, like the ones that are focused on advertising, move into revenue very quickly because the best way to figure out whether your stuff works is to try to sell it to somebody. So ED63s spent a year on the technology and then went to market, and they did like $800,000 their first quarter. So which is, I think, pretty significant. So it depends on the company. If it's a sort of consumer-oriented global network of interconnected usage, I would put Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Foursquare into those categories. Then the quicker you can get to dominance, the more likely your longevity. And the general playbook, right, is to do that without worrying about revenue, because all that matters is scale. So I think it depends on the specific issues. If you have a specific company, you want to know whether they care about revenue or not. I'm happy to tell you. Anyone I should.
Hi, I'm Roberto. So, say during the World Cup, I watched the awesome spot of Nike on the future, and 2 months later, I mean, at the moment I'm just like, that's cool. 2 months later, I joined the World Soccer Club, and I need new soccer shoes. So I try to buy them online, and I go to Google, and I click on a sponsor search, and I buy them, and Google gets money. But maybe what really made me think of Nike is the thing that I watch on Facebook, but Google is being compensated for this in a way that Facebook is not. So, I think the financial lack of your previous employer was in harvesting intent, but where you come in, intent is not already there. So, as business development, how do you link, the financial success? How do you present a business case for your potential customers and persuade them to pay a fair share of their budget to you, and you come in fairly earlier than to Google that has like a very compelling, very quick kind of payback scheme to it?
This funnel, so intent down to purchase, the money's up here. All the brand campaigns being run on TV, the billions of dollars are on brand. So effectively, so the time you walk into that Foot Locker, you actually have Nike or Adidas FA in your mind. Google has been playing down here, and then they're trying to move up with like double-click acquisition and display ads and YouTube page takeovers and all that stuff. But that's been effectively kind of immediacy of search. So honestly, I think I'd much rather play up here and actually capture a percentage of those billions of dollars than actually go fight Google on the CPC model. $28 billion on whatever, $20 million campaign on TV for Pepsi just for one specific TV show. I'd rather have that than fighting for click by click by click on an engine that's amazingly good at giving you the answer you want in 1 minute you want it.
Yeah, on that, on the part of the budget, you have to compete with like television that has 30 years of history and it's like a proven scheme. Even if it's less effective, you know, there's a kind of risk tolerance about it.
1% of 10 billion, then having to fight for 1% of 25 million, 25 billion. Sorry, 100 billion, then 25 billion.
And we're approaching the pointy end of the funnel ourselves. I think that Dave and Chris will be able to hang out for a few minutes. Come on up and say hi. Nicole, we have something to acknowledge their spending time. I think all of us. Thank you.